From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One ball, corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hutchavandi
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? Welcome on into Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida. Coming up on today's show, it's your show. It's Renegade Express, taking nothing but questions from our valued subscribers over at Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source. It's still $1, everybody. Sign up, get involved. Get involved this weekend watching college football over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill in Tallahassee, Florida, right off Appalachia Parkway. CPTallybar.com if you're one of those folks that likes to check out a menu before you actually go to the establishment. You won't be disappointed with pretty much anything and everything on that menu. Top-notch food, top-notch spirits and service. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida. Check it out. And you do endorse that, Corey? I think you do endorse that, right?
Of course I do. And if you're looking for a place in Tallahassee to watch the game tomorrow night, Corner Pocket will be lively. It'll be packed. It's a good place to watch it with a bunch of Noles.
Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source. Subscribe to our YouTube page if you're listening to us on YouTube. If you're on YouTube throughout the day, maybe hop over there. Subscribe. It's totally free. You can get notifications whenever we drop new shows, content, all that kind of good stuff. And, again, the website's only $1. Join us all day Friday. Jeff and Tom doing the Jeff Cameron Show 1 to 3. Then they'll be doing a pregame show from 6:30 up until kick. The watch-along will be Jeff and Ira first half, and then Tom and Gene second half, and then the post-game show following. So we're going to have you covered, Corey and I, in Louisville as you're listening to this. Won't tell you where we're at right now or the day and the time, but we'll be in Louisville when you're listening to this. I think we might search out the Louisville Seminole Club. They're hanging out some margarita joint, I guess, Corey. Steph likes margaritas. Maybe we'll go out, hang out, crash the party.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll be, it'll be the sweet spot. I think it starts at 4. And then we'll, I could be at Churchill Downs for a little while before that, and we'll just head on over. It's within walking distance of the stadium, so it sounds like a good time. It'd be good for them to have a celebrity appearance too from the two of us. I think that would really get some juice going with the Kentucky to Seminole Booster Club.
There you go. All right, let's get after it. There's 49 of these. Don't know if we're gonna get to all of them.
I know the answer to that.
All right, I'm gonna effort. Since I cannot control and corral Corey Clark, I will do some. Positive reinforcement. I'm going to try to read some of the questions that are shorter in response time, less verbose at the top of the program so we can keep this thing moving. We start off, post number 28, 808 Seminole. Aloha, how's it? First time, long time. It's not Ralph. It's another dude, or maybe dudette, from Hawaii. I am from Maui, Hawaii. I moved to Texas. The famous people from Maui, Shane Victorino and Mr. Miyagi, Pat Morita. Fun fact, it is the final resting place of Charles Lindbergh as well. They offer us some sage Polynesian advice. Iwe loe kali o ka lanikila, which means persevere until the lay of victory is achieved.
Okay.
Amen.
Okay.
Amen. Yep. We're going to bundle these all together. A lot of the similar sort of sentiment here. Noel Fan 407.
We have another sentiment that has something to do with Polynesian.
No, we're moving along. We're segueing to the next topic, Corey.
Oh, okay.
3 minutes
My
in.
fault.
3 minutes in. We're good. We're cooking. We're on the next one. Noel Fan 407. Wake up, first time poster, long time listener. As my name suggests, I am from sunny Orlando, Orange County. Stand up. Daniel Tosh, Wayne Brady, Warren Sapp from Orange County. My question is simple. He says. Most likable FSU football team since, hold that thought, Corey, because there's other people that are also bringing that sort of sentiment. Ruthless Gaze says he personally hopes Norvell succeeds here because he's built a team that is very likable. How much more enjoyable is it covering this team than some of the last ones under Jimbo? And Jeff 2000, is this program on the verge of being likable nationally? Norvell's open, charismatic, full of intelligent players on this team that are hard workers. If we start rolling again, will we be done with the bad guy role in the media with the casual football fan?
I mean, that's a good question. Maybe, so much of that, honestly, it just stemmed from Jameis and a narrative that was created, well, not created, but the narrative that surrounded Jameis from essentially a New York Times article. And then it went from there. That was the match that lit the fuse. And then through all of 2014, Florida State was Darth Vader. The head coach didn't help. Just because he was who he was. Like, you keep the circle tight. They're all the enemy. Local media, national media, it doesn't matter. But I hesitate. Like what made the 13 team likable was they were awesome. They were fun to watch. This team is likable, I think, because they play hard. They're not awesome, clearly, but you also get to know them. And I don't know if it's fair to these other teams between 13 and 22 that we didn't get to know as well because of the coaches, rules regarding media. I think so I don't know if people say they're likable because of the way they come off in interviews or the way they play. What do you think that means?
Combination for sure. I mean, if they were 0-2 right now, they wouldn't be all that likable.
Correct.
But they do like the fact that the coach. Well, some people think that the coach legitimately does not like the media, and he made a joke about we didn't ask him good questions or have a lot of prepared questions, which is his way of jabbing and barbing with us and having fun. But a couple of people are like, yeah, man, I love how he doesn't take any crap from the media. Get better at your jobs. You guys suck. So they like that because they think he's kind of got this chip on his shoulder against big media. But I mean, I think it's largely because of the way they're winning. Listen, man, I thought it was cool Tamori and Terry wearing a mask at interviewing. Man, that was likable to me.
All right. I would go the opposite way of that because, man, you haven't won anything.
Well, but if they would have won, though, it would have been awesome. But they
correct,
didn't win.
That's the deal. That you can do those little tricks and use props when you're good and when you win. You can play tic-tac-toe on the sideline when you're up by 50 points and you're about to win a national championship. But it maybe doesn't look as good when you're struggling to beat Louisiana Monroe and then losing to every other week. But yeah, I think this team is likable because they do play hard. I do think they take after their head coach in that regard. But I also think they're only 4-minute, 6-minute interviews at times. But I just wish more people would understand, more coaches anyway, that when you let your players talk to the media, especially the ones that are good at it, that like doing it, man, it is such a good brand. It's such a good way to brand your program because they are good ambassadors. They are, man. There's no other way to say it. The Jordan Travises of the world, Micah Pittman, Robert Cooper is just a great ambassador for your program, and you should want them out in front of cameras and microphones. So maybe it'll take off around the country, this kind of these kind of rules regarding media that Norvell has. But yeah, man, I think they're likable for a couple of reasons, I guess.
Most likable team for you since 13, 15?
I guess, man. I really did. LaMarcus, to me, was likable. Terrence Brooks was very likable. Even a guy like Nick Wasom, I loved talking to that dude. Jernigan, loved talking to that guy. To me, that was a very likable. Cam Irving was a very likable guy. Now, there were some ornery dudes like O'Leary and Stork that didn't want to talk, and that's fine. But Devontae Freeman, James Wilder, Jalen Ramsey obviously didn't want to talk either. But those other guys were, to me, likable. And Jimbo was a little more open back then. I think he knew he had a badass team, and he didn't care if they talked to the media. Once, when 16 and 17 rolled around, we were just getting Freddie Stevenson every week.
Yeah. This also kind of dovetails into that. Raise the Nole. My question is, when do you? By the way, says Corey, thank you for your wing recommendation at Corner Pocket. They're awesome.
Amen. Preach, buddy. Preach.
He likes that I'm starting to drink some of the Kool-Aid. My question, when do you think Florida State will start getting love recognition by the national media? Why do they seem to hate us? And I know you mentioned 2013. I don't want to go too far. I think Florida State's the last big boy on the block. They are the youngest, freshest blue blood of them all. And it kind of came out of nowhere, right? I mean, the state of Florida, obviously talent-rich, but University of Florida was kind of a middling program for many, many years. University of Miami, obviously, wasn't gaining a lot of traction in the 70s. So, early 80s, Bobby Bowden starts getting this thing turned around. Alabama is Alabama, whatever. They can take the jokes, but it's they really do take their football seriously. So it's almost kind of respected in a way. But I think Florida State was just looked upon as coming on the scene kind of late in this window of the 70s and 80s, and college football starting to gain more traction on the mainstream. And then it's, we kind of unapologetically were more or less a football school. Now we're top 25, top 20 public university. So, but those reputations kind of hang on to you for a while. So I think that's part of why the national media might kind of punch it down at Florida State at times. I don't think there's any kind of cabal or conspiracy to hold down Florida State or make fun of them or throw in weird video clips when you're doing a montage nationally on ESPN. I just think there's some sensitivity there. I get it. You're a big-time fan. You don't like it if they don't get as much airtime on the Heisman House commercial. But I don't see any conspiracy. I just think it's Florida State's standing. Kind of there. We are kind of a new kid on the block still to a certain degree when it comes to the Blue Bloods.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of theories about that. To answer the first part of his question, when are the national media going to start? Well, I can't remember exactly how it phrased. Like starting
give
to
some respect, love, recognition.
I mean, look, man, win and it comes. It's 5 straight losing seasons or whatever it is, 4 straight losing seasons. There isn't respect yet. A 2-0 start with one of those wins over Duquesne isn't going to elicit the respect you're looking for. You can't rush it. You can't rush respect. You can't skip these steps. Go win some games and they'll start respecting you. I promise. We've seen it. Multiple times. We've seen it at Florida State. If you win games, they will respect you. Begrudgingly if they have to, but they will respect you. So take care of the first part first. Keep winning games.
Let's keep it there then with that sort of thought. Ruthless Gaze. Actually, no, I already mentioned Ruthless Gaze. My bad. We'll keep it with here. Our guy Tennis Ump. He was asking, what are your thoughts on a much-needed win to keep us gaining relevance on a national level? That's something that a lot of people are asking about. When is, again, when are we going to start getting the love? When is Florida State going to kind of be back, if you will? I mean, I don't think this game is part of that. Dalvinism also asking, what's baseline expectation for FSU should the rebuild period finally come to its sort of conclusion and end? Our guy Spear for that rear end, we're expressing doubt about the outcome of this game. Corey thinks you do. What are the realistic expectations if Florida State can win football games and kind of when are they going to gain that kind of respect? I mean, Florida State will be back when they start competing for playoff spots. Like if Florida State starts off 4-0 and then loses, or I mean, let's think like if they lose the NC State and Clemson, despite the good start, no one's going to think that Florida State and Mike Norvell are back, right, Corey? Because the bar is so high. I think people are keeping tabs on Florida State right now. You go and beat Louisville on a nationally televised game. That's 2 games in a row where you're kind of the only game on television. That shows that you're maybe getting a little bit better, and we need to pay attention. But it's the blessing and the curse of this program. Like, we will not be thought of being back until, we've got 10 wins in November and we're aiming for something bigger and better. Or do you think a 3-0, 4-0 start can be the catalyst? Will that say the Florida State is back?
Man, I think it really depends on what your term of back is. It sounds like Clinton. Depends on what is. Okay. Man, Florida State's never going to be back to what we grew up with. There's no team that's going to finish in the top 4 14 straight years. So is that back? Is it nationally relevant every year? Is it top 5 every year like Clemson has been for the last decade? Is that back? Because when could you say that? You'd have to prove it. Like, I think Florida State, the back in quotes, I won't. When Florida State relevant again is when they're competing for playoff spots. Now, if we're in 2024 and Florida State's the 14th ranked team in the country and they go into that last week against Florida with a win and they're in, does that mean they're back, or does that mean that Florida State's still pretty good but not great? Yeah, that's right now. Just get to pretty good. Get to top 15ish. I don't know that back is something that I have a hard time formulating in my brain what that looks like, because we all know it's not going to be 14 straight years. And just getting in the top 5 once? I mean, Miami's been ranked as high as like number 3 in the country in the last decade, multiple times. Yeah. I think they were 5th or 6th in the country when they came to Doak in 13.
Well, 17 they were like gunning for a playoff spot, and then they lost to Pitt in the last, and that's when they lost 3 games in a row to end the season. They lost AC championship game after that, and then they lost their bowl game.
That's what I'm saying. So, and we make fun of them for always saying they're back. So I don't even think 1 year of being ranked high in November is what we're talking about here. It's got to be an established consistency that is top 10-ish, top 12-ish. Yep. Then you're back. Get to where, man, I guess Clemson is the best barometer right now. Don't use Alabama or Georgia, Ohio State. Use Clemson. If Clemson can get to this, Florida State can get to this. So that's the barometer, and you're still a ways off from establishing a consistent top 10 program. Right now, just finish this year ranked, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, HM 1097 was asking, each week becomes more important to this team to determining how far have they come. At what point can we sit back and say with confidence we know what this team is? Will it be Friday night, Corey, or will it take a big-time opponent like Clemson to find out?
No, I think Friday night can dictate everything. I think if they go on the road and win, I guess tonight, right? If they win this game, man, that to me will emphasize that this team is good.
We'll know what they are. Yeah, we'll know what they are.
Not championship, but they to me that you'll have beaten LSU in New Orleans. You'll have won at Louisville, a hungry Louisville team that's beaten you 2 years in a row. At least the first one really, really ugly. If you can go on the road and do that and win that game, you're 3-0. You're on your way to a bowl. You might be on your way to at least contending or playing important games in October. That to me means that we can sit back and know that the program is going in the right direction. It's a pretty good team. We don't know the ceiling, but I think we'll have a better understanding of what the floor could be. And if they start out 3-0 with BC coming to town and Wake Forest after that, after having played Clemson, so Wake Forest could be beat up, you literally are staring at 4 or 5-0, and then, you're thinking the floor is 8 wins. That's incredible. So that's why I think this is if they lose this game, 2-1, you got 2 home games, you want to win them both, but they're not gimmies. And then, there's still a possibility of 6-6. Heck, I guess there's still a possibility of missing. Like, you just won't know. If you go and play well at Louisville and win on a Friday night to go to 3-0, I think you've established that you're for real and you're a top 20 caliber team.
I tried to read this part of the question, but I was scrambling. But Spear for that Nole was saying,
nice.
How many wins or how dominant does FSU have to look for the skepticism that Corey's expressed doubt about the outcome to be abated? Like, is like 2-score? I mean, I don't know, Corey. I know I don't really think you're skeptical. You're just expressing, I think, some realistic points about. Listen, this program hasn't won a big game. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think if they win, even if it's LSU Part 2, where they're up big in the fourth quarter, and then Louisville comes roaring back. I don't know. I don't want to speak for you. I think you just want to see a win on the road against the ACC opponent, opener. I think that's enough to maybe abate some of your skepticism. Or does it need to be like a 2-score win where you're kind of cruising in the fourth quarter for you to whatever term we want to use here would be abated?
No, I think if we're going to go with me being skeptical, my skepticism would end if they win this game, however they win this game, even if it's like Willie won in 18, just a gift. That to me would end skepticism, because you would have had to have been close and played relatively well to be in the game in the fourth quarter to have a chance to somebody give you the game. So that skepticism would end. I think what would happen is if they won, and I don't even know what the score would be, 31-21. I can't. I'm not putting a number on it. But if they control the majority of the game, like I thought they did against LSU, if they control the majority of the game again on the road at Louisville, in a place they do not play well, no matter what the score is, I think what would change is my idea of what this team could be, the ceiling. That's all. Like, I think if they go and play well and kind of control a game against Louisville on a Friday night on ESPN and win comfortably, then I think, okay, man, can they get to 10 wins? Is this a New Year's Six team? Like, literally, that's how important a really good showing in this game would be to me. I would start dreaming the big dream. Nice. Like, man, they might have their ceiling might be New Year's Six, because college programs don't go on the road and win comfortably on Friday nights almost ever. This team certainly hasn't in forever. So that would be an unbelievable sign. But just get the dub, baby. Just get the dub.
Let's transition to the Jordan Travis segment of today's show. We got 4 questions, all from the same family.
I like what you're doing. You've grouped them all together, man. I like what you're doing.
It's
when you got 49 of them.
We've gone through like 9 questions in under 19 minutes. It's really good. We might be able to. We might be onto something here, Corey. Cole 4. We'll keep these a little bit trim. They're all kind of same family again. Cole 4. Jordan Travis, 315 all-purpose yards, but 2 turnovers. Do we still win?
I mean,
I don't think so.
If he has 5 touchdowns, if he has 5 touchdowns to go with the 2 turnovers, absolutely.
All we know is 315 and 2 turnovers.
No, because what he had against Florida.
Right.
It was about kind of what he had against Florida, about 315, somewhere in that neighborhood, 1 turnover, and you scored 21 points. So it's so hard to answer, though, because you don't know what the context of the turnovers is. Is it a pick 6? Do you fumble at their 1-yard line? Like, I don't know.
Last play of the second half from midfield because you can't kick a field goal.
Something like that, yeah. So but no, man, I think 315 yards is a nice number. because you'd think your running backs are getting over 100 at least combined, the other guys running the ball. So now you're over 400 yards of offense. But I'll say yes, you can still win even with 2 turnovers. I mean, he's gonna have turnovers.
No, he's not.
You think he's going to go the whole year? That would be incredible.
I'm kidding.
Let's go, Jordan Travis.
Yeah. I mean, there's some moments against LSU where the ball got tipped in the air, and he was lucky that it fell down. So
there was that. We've never talked about the play in the LSU game where the kid almost intercepted in the end zone when he was throwing to Cam McDonald in the corner. You remember that play?
Yeah.
I think it was in the first half.
Yeah.
Man, what's remarkable about it to me is that was such a great find by Jordan Travis. Like, it's a great decision. The kid is open in the corner of the end zone after scrambling around. He knew where McDonald was. He just didn't make as good a throw as he needed to. But even that throw that the kid almost tipped up and made a great interception, the decision to know I got a guy open in the corner of the end zone after scrambling around, that to me, again, it was just bad throw, but great idea. It's a great idea. It's a great find. He didn't throw it away. He didn't throw it straight into a linebacker's hands. He saw his guy in the corner of the end zone and just didn't throw it quite high enough.
Keeping it here with Jordan Travis, Grumpy BK, wake up, fellas. Will we see Jordan Travis break off a 30 or more yard touchdown run this week? Seems his home run hitting ability versus the UNC games of pass has slowed down a bit, but he's progressing in the passing game. Is his game changing, or do we have enough running backs in the stable to not need to rely on his legs as much?
Well, I mean, I definitely think he needs to do some stuff with his legs, and not just in this game, but every coin flip game. That's not even a great equalizer. That's something that can put you over the top is his legs, because that's almost impossible to prepare for. Just like Cunningham's on the other side. I don't know if you need a 30-yard touchdown run. You do need him to do something in the middle of the game at some point in the game with his legs to keep them honest on the running backs. So keep them honest on him, so the running backs can have maybe a few more lanes. You don't want him taking unneeded shots. I get it. But part of the weaponry of this offense is that dude's legs, and it would not surprise me at all. I don't know if it'll be a touchdown if he rips off a couple of big runs, because, if he can throw like this, like we think he can, that's really hard to defend. Mm-hmm. You've got to really honor the pass, and if you honor the pass and you're playing man, and he sees that your linebackers vacated the spot in the middle of the field, you can turn around and he's running for 26 yards before you even know it. So it's really nice that if he can be this thrower, what that means for the entire offense.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. The 30-plus yard touchdown run. I mean, I can see him ripping off maybe a 25-yard run, but I just can't imagine them being on the 31-yard line, and then he's going to go complete Michael Vick out there. Because at that
would
point,
think
it feels a little bit condensed.
Don't you think it'd be like the Carolina run he had,
right?
Where it's a lot of guys at the line, and you just make one dude miss.
They pick the wrong guy.
Yeah. Pick the wrong gap, or you pick the wrong gap, or you get a good block on the perimeter, and then he's going to outrun people. Because that's the one thing that Louisville did against UCF. There was they had so many dudes at the line of scrimmage where there's not like they have a bunch of safety help. If they got 8 guys, 9 guys right there in the line of scrimmage, if you make one big cut and a guy's out of position, you could be running for a long time.
Let's talk about offensive balance. These 2 questions. Timmy Knoll, wake up. He's Tim. He's from Ocala. That's where P.J. Williams is from. Shout out. Awesome. First time asking the question. Do you think we'll be...
PJ's still in the league, isn't he?
He is. Yeah, man. He was in New
PJ.
Orleans on the field hanging out with Jameis before the game.
That's right. 10 years that guy's been in the league, right?
Incredible.
Or 9 years. That's great. Yeah. Good job.
First time asking a question, do you think we will be able to have a more balanced attack this week against Louisville? And then also, in that same vein, we're going to go to our guy, Mahogany Strat. After being able to run all over Duquesne and Jordan putting up a good performance against LSU, but not being able to establish a run game, if we had to be one-dimensional for this game, would it be better for us to run or pass? Hopefully both, he says, but if we had to be one-dimensional. And will the run game sort of bounce back from our guy Timmy in Ocala? Will it be balanced? I think they're going to have a very balanced attack. I think it's going to be a very exciting game for Florida State fans to kind of really see what this offense can be. Because I think there's going to be some back-and-forth punches going on here. I think Louisville will probably figure out ways to get guys open and scheme some stuff. They'll feed off that crowd early on, but I think we'll see just how tough it is to defend Jordan. Because, listen, man, they run really good screen concepts. They run really good jet motion concepts. They also can run the ball somewhat conventionally out of the shotgun. They can do, read option stuff with Jordan. If they want to go RPO, they can do that. There's just so many different things they can do. I think they'll stay quite balanced, but if they had to be one-dimensional for anything, I guess if you're running the ball just without any struggles, that's usually a good sign
Yeah.
for your team. So
I was going to say, I think any coach in America not named like Mike Leach, if they're going to want to be, if they have to choose which one they have to be one-dimensional at, would be running the ball, because that means you're dominating the line of scrimmage. You're obviously running well. You're controlling the game. You're controlling the clock. You're controlling possession. Like I would say, if you had to be one-dimensional in one thing, you would always want it to be run, because that means you're kind of owning the game physically. So yeah, and I do expect the running game to be better than it was against LSU. Number one, Louisville is an LSU up front. Also, there's more on film now. They let Jordan Travis beat them. Like, they didn't believe that Jordan Travis can beat them. Well, Scott Satterfield now believes that Jordan Travis can beat him. Their DC, Brian Brown, has seen it. So they will have to plan for the pass a little bit more, which should open up the running lanes. You would think. You would hope.
my goodness. Speaking of the climb with Florida State, the line is climbing over at mybookie.ag. Florida State, as we record this, a 3-point favorite. I mean, good grief. Look at all that respect. You want to talk about respect? How about Vegas? How about MyBookie giving the Noles all the respect, the over-under 57? Have some fun this weekend. Get involved on your laptop, your mobile device, over at mybookie.ag. And when you use that promo code WARCHANT when you sign up, your first deposit will be doubled instantly. For real. Try it. You'll see. How about this line, Corey? Michigan favored by 47.5 against UConn at home. It's a big number.
UConn, man. Can you believe we lived in a life where UConn made a New Year's Six bowl game? You remember that?
Yeah, man, Randy Edsel. Yeah, it's a true thing.
How incredible is that? How incredible is that? And I think they played okay in that bowl game. I can't remember who they played. I'm sure it was like Oklahoma or West Virginia or somebody, but like that's incredible. And now UConn or UMass are the two worst Division I teams in the country. It's nuts. But yeah, 47.5, that seems about right.
MyBookie.ag, you can bet on everything: NFL, baseball, soccer, UFC, tennis, golfing, boxing. It's all there. Props as well. We'll have to maybe start diving into what's going on with the Heisman race and see what our guy's looking like. Maybe even a national title bet for the family here on Wake Up Warchant. But check out MyBookie.ag. Use that promo code WARCHANT. Get your first deposit doubled. All right, we're doing a good job, Corey, but that's not to mean that we can slack. We need to maintain. We got to keep the climb. We cannot be blinded by success. We got to keep our breakneck pace here. D-Rail posted 3 separate questions at 10:01 a.m., 10:07 a.m., 10:12 a.m.
Oh, they just kept coming to them.
It's not the way it works, Guy. Not the way it works.
Hey, that's fine, though.
We'll read one of them, though. Wake up. It's too early for me. I just woke up, but one question so far. Yeah, he wasn't lying so far. All right, who's going to be the better running quarterback Florida State faces, Jaden Daniels or Malik Cunningham? Also, Aslan, why do you keep avoiding me? First, it was on Bourbon Street, where you just kept on walking. And second, you didn't ask my question to Coop during Trench Talk. Man, where's the love? Well, first of all, it's in the Coop. It's not Trench Talk. And I can't ask all the questions. Sometimes, I don't know, if it's something about injuries or related to game planning and things like that, I'm not going to pop it up on the screen. Nothing personal, I promise. And if you say anything to me on Bourbon Street, if you're like, hey, Aslan, if I didn't hear you, I didn't hear you. But if I heard you, I'm sure I turned around and said, what's up? But what's up, D-Rail? Malik Cunningham's the much
Aslan
better
was
running
busy.
quarterback.
Aslan was busy in New Orleans.
Yeah. Just
busy dealing with some stuff.
let animals meet their creator.
Yeah, I think Cunningham's a better runner.
Absolutely.
Remember, guys, Cunningham ran for 1,000 yards.
Correct.
He ran for like Daniels ran because they couldn't do anything else, and he couldn't do anything else. Cunningham, like I said, I think he threw for close to 3,000 last year and ran for 1,000. Like he's a dynamic runner, and he ran for 120 in that game, and they needed all 120, including his 43-yard touchdown.
Mark Naples, M. Adams, CZ. Really excited to see this team play again on Friday night. Also, wake up. Is the defense the key to this game? Malik's going to get rushing yards, which is going to be annoying. Maybe only Georgia's defense could shut him down. But if I'm not mistaken, Louisville has scored 3 total offensive touchdowns against Syracuse and UCF collectively. Not exactly juggernauts. Do you think our defense plays like they did for 3 quarters against LSU and cleans it up in the 4th? That will have a solid and comfortable win. Yes. And he asks, is that the next step for growth in this program, right? Yes. Having comfortable wins against
That is a big step, yeah.
Conference opponents. Yeah,
that's a great step.
I'm worried about the defense. That's one thing. If I had to talk about anything concern-wise, the defense, not even so much like hemming up, Malik Cunningham. I just think, man, he has a way of taxing a defense too. Not the same way Jordan, because Jordan can do so many different things. But like, listen, Malik is it's all right, man. He'll run, and if you want to creep up, he can throw the deep ball with somewhat accuracy, enough to make you a little bit nervous. I am concerned about the defense. But we don't know if Fabian Lovett's going to play in the game. So these are things that could maybe create some chaos for you. But yeah, defense is the key to this game for sure.
I disagree.
Okay, running the ball for us? Okay.
No, I mean, I just think, going into this game, Louisville's going to put up some points. They're at home. They got a dynamic quarterback. They're going to score on you. They're going to score in the 20s on you at least. This is a team that scored 31 points on you each of the last 2 first halves it's played against you. You're not all of a sudden going to go in there and hold them to 7. Your offense has to show up and not just go from the 30 to the 30, but actually go from the 30 to the end zone and put up big numbers, put up mid-30s. Like, you watch that UCF game, and if they had Jordan Travis at quarterback, they would have scored 40-something points. I'm telling you. Syracuse put up 31 points. This offense should be better than Syracuse. So go at least get in the 30s. Go in the mid-30s. That, to me, is the key to the game. Because Louisville's going to score some points.
All right. These two from the same tree, Seminole 3-2-4-4-4, Panama City Beach, stand up, wake up. With Jordan seeing the level of improvement we're seeing this year, the development of Rod. I'm not even going to read that. Sorry, it's not working, man. Can we say that we have a pretty solid quarterback coach in Tony Tokars? If so, do we need to start worrying about the thievery of both Tokars and Atkins? And that also leads us to Georgia Noles 86, our guy Ranier. We all know it's a matter of time for Coach Atkins is promoted to a head coaching job elsewhere, or maybe OC at a different school. I don't think he would leave laterally. If you're the head coach, who would you hire as your new OC to replace him? Also over-under, 2 over-unders, Ranier's over-unders, 3 years. How long do you think Deion stays at Jackson State? I will take the under. And then our guy in Panama City, his over-under was 0.5 wedding proposals in the end zone this year.
Oh, under. I think that was the Brady Scott. That was the last of that ever happening on Norvell's watch, I would imagine. For Deion, yeah, I would take the under on that as well. And then
Tokars might be able to get an OC job if this offense, if they win 10 games and this quarterback's got 3,500 total yards and 30 touchdowns, he might be able to get an OC job somewhere. Or maybe Atkins leaves and then he gets promoted to OC. Maybe this is part of.
I think that would be the natural order. And I would be much more worried about Atkins, honestly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, man. Again,
I don't know who's out
24.
There,
they scored 24 against LSU, gang.
Yeah.
We're not talking about a team that just put up 50. They scored 24. So let's stop worrying about these hypotheticals until they become reality. Like, there's no reason right now to worry about the QB coach leaving when you put up 24 points in the only real game you played. Now, put up 40 against Louisville, put up, another 40 against BC, beat Wake. All right, let's revisit it. And I think Atkins is great. I think Atkins is going to be a head coach.
Absolutely.
Somewhere in the next 3 to 5 years, I would imagine. He is on an ascension. But yeah, it's going to be harder for him if this team averages mid-20s in offense. So, and I don't think it will. I think it's a better offense. I just want to see it on the field.
Yeah, and if he leaves, I don't know.
I have no idea.
Maybe
but
Matt Luke wants to come out of retirement. Being on the beach for a few years. He's all right O-line coach for Georgia. Also, Ole Miss was their interim coach for a minute. I do wonder if, they'll have to reach to that group of 5 kind of level maybe. Because I don't know if they can – I don't know, maybe pull out the O-line coach from Arkansas. I don't know how much he's getting paid, but maybe, Sam Pittman's getting all the shine.
Come on, man. You know who's coaching that O-line?
Yeah, so –
why you wouldn't unless you're getting Sam Pittman, you wouldn't need the Arkansas O-line coach.
Noel Holla, morning fellas. I subscribed for $1 as soon as it became available. Now that we're a few weeks into the season, can I cancel and then resubscribe for $1 to get me further into next year and enjoy before the price increases? Don't be gaming the system. Don't do that.
That's a good idea, though, huh?
It is, but don't do that. Come on, man.
Yeah, come on. We're not going to advocate for you to do that. That's ridiculous. Come on, just buy another membership.
P.S. Corey, do not forget to try the 5-0 cranberry mango with your next vodka drink. It's too exotic for our guy, man. Corey's got a very, very clean, simple palate. Isn't he? Cranberry mango crashing with vodka in his mouth.
Well, hey, don't speak for me, but you're probably right. You're probably right. I got a good thing going with the Mio gang. I got a good thing going. And we're going to be in Louisville at this Bourbon and Beyond Festival. We're there to see the music. Pearl Jam's there on Saturday night. Had a little Alanis on Thursday night. If you don't know her, kids, she was really a big deal in the 90s. I got a little bourbon I might try just to see. Okay. But I want to get like a mixed bourbon drink. Like, you know what I mean? Like something like
an old-fashioned or something?
Yeah, or something like that, or like a mule, like a Kentucky mule or something. Okay. Just something like that, a little splash of bourbon just to live the life since I'm in Kentucky. But otherwise, I got a good thing going with my vodka and water and Mio. Okay.
Going straight to the jugular on your guys' questions, we appreciate all the setups and stuff. I hate to shortchange you, but we're trying to get everybody's name read on the show. Nollboy02, who's taking this game more personal, Norvell or Jordan? He said Mike because he might remember what happened last time they were up there. Jordan, obviously, because that's his former school. And also, what receiver do you put on Jarvis Brownlee? That's a good question. I feel like somebody shiftier. I think maybe like Micah's probably better because he might be able to get up.
It's going to be in the slot, man. It's going to be Pokey.
Okay.
And Pokey's gone up against Jarvis Brownlee for 3 years. So if anybody knows how to beat Jarvis Brownlee consistently, it's the guy that plays him every day for the last 3 years. So that's who I would go with.
Yeah, I don't know if Johnny. I think he might get. I don't know if Johnny gets separation. Johnny's always open pretty much, but maybe Jarvis just gets a little too close and is able to muck it up and make it a little nasty in that.
Yeah, and they're not going to call a lot of pass interference on Johnny Wilson because he's too big. Yeah. So these corners, and Brownlee is certainly a physical corner, is gonna just like push them and grab them and clutch, and they're not going to call it almost at all because they feel bad for a kid that's trying to guard someone that's 6'7". It's just the nature of sports, man. It's the human element. That's why Shaq, as many free throws as he should have shot twice as many, because they just feel bad for people going up against giants.
And I walked away because I had to upload Mike Norvell's press conference on Wednesday, was it? No, Tuesday after practice. Somebody did ask Jordan about like his favorite Louisville memory, and he's like, I don't really know. I mean, the former staff's gone. Yeah. I don't even know how many guys on that roster were around when he was there. But I mean, if I had to pick, I maybe would say Jordan. But I don't think there's a lot of bad blood, revenge tour sort of vibes from this game. That's just
me. And he left them, right? Like it wasn't. Yeah. I don't know that there's maybe Satterfield came in and said, we don't see a future for you, but I don't know that would have happened. I don't even know if he was there when Satterfield actually was hired. I can't remember the timeline there, but no, I don't. I would think that Travis just treats it as a game, man. I hope he does. I hope he doesn't. Like in 2020, I got it. Like that was different. Like he was going up there. He was the starting quarterback. He was coming off that big win against North Carolina. He wanted to kind of prove a point. Like you could have had me instead of Cunningham and Jawan Pass. Nice. And then the offense was terrible, and he wasn't very good. I think 2 years later, he's already been up there once. I would think it's just he's, I don't think he's. I hope he's not thinking about revenge.
Actually, who knows? Now that I'm looking at it, Satterfield got hired or officially announced December 4th. Jordan December 26th. So there could have there's a conversation, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So
maybe. So
all
yeah,
right.
I mean, but
Jordan for sure then.
All right, we'll go with that. I'll say Dennis Briggs.
That somebody asked about Briggs in here somewhere else. So whoever that was, Corey just answered that part of the question. Thank you, Corey. Way to be, man.
I'm doing it.
Gary Cincimelia. Wake up, gents. I'm excited for this game. The game plan tonight should be straightforward. Contain Cunningham. That said, which tandem pair of bookends from the Warchant roster would have the best chance at containing a scrambling quarterback? My pick would be Jeff and Aslan. Jeff looks like he's still willing to deal out some punishment. Aslan, I imagine, plays with a Kevin Green type of effort. Keep up the good work, guys. Good luck in Louisville.
I would say that's right. I would envision you and Jeff being our best athletes.
I don't know. I could see you with like a forearm pad. I mean, you already got the nose like Chuck Cecil, a little bit tender from all those procedures. I could just see one big hit and your nose opens up like a tomato and just blood pouring down your face. Everyone's like, I ain't running.
You don't want any part of that. Yeah, he's from the 70s. He's playing on the steel curtain. But Jeff was a college athlete for a little bit as a football player, but he could do reverse dunks and He was on a sprint relay team. Now he's up there in age. I think he's 71. I don't remember exactly, but he's up there in age, but I still think he's got that want-to in that fight, and he's still got some of that fast twitch in there. And then I think Aslan's in the best shape out of all of us. It's not close. So Aslan and Jeff coming off the edge is our best bet.
Shout out. All right, let's put these two together. J Cherry 904. $1 American is an offer I could not refuse. Longtime listener of the show. Second-time poster on this forum. With the team being so young, not having much winning experience, I'm worried about the hostile environment later tonight against Louisville. I think it's a trap game. The stadium has not been kind to us in years past. What say you? And then we'll go to our guy, Derek, who asks, first off, wake up. This is a very personal week for him. He lived in Louisville for 15 years. It's been hell the last 2 years. At least 2 years ago, there was not that many fans to experience the debacle. He thinks we'll win 31-21. So his question is, what's the worst loss against Louisville, 2002, 2016, or 2020?
16.
Absolutely. He says, I go with 2016. I felt like our guys quit.
Yeah, they did, and I think that was the biggest crack that was ever exposed in what had been built. Florida State was third in the country, right? Or fourth crazy, or something like something crazy. And they didn't have Derwin James, and all of a sudden they just
Josh Sweat too, right? Or he didn't fly with them.
No, Josh Sweat flew up late and then didn't play. He got treatment, didn't play. But it's like, man, I thought you had recruited at a level where just because you lost two dudes, you wouldn't just be like, all right, well, there's the end zone. Have at it. Like it was such an embarrassing loss for a team that hadn't really had any of them. I mean, the loss to Georgia Tech, the loss to Houston too in that bowl game was a little alarming. They just out physicaled you, man. And then 2-3 games later, you're getting embarrassed on national TV and giving up 63 points. That I think was the biggest. That's when you knew that something was fundamentally wrong with the program, because Nick Saban's teams might lose, Kirby Smart's teams might lose, the dude at Ohio State, what's his name, Ryan Day,
correct,
might lose. They don't lose by 40, and they don't give up 63 points and hand somebody a Heisman Trophy like Florida State did that day. And that was when it would seem like, okay, there's a disconnect here. So 16 just because of what it represented.
I don't think I've ever wanted to reach through a television and just hurt somebody as much as I wanted to hurt Lamar Jackson that night. Really? Because when you watched it in person, it was. I mean, I know you were watching it through a TV, but watching it in person, you're like, man, this isn't. I was stunned, and it's not like I wanted Florida State to lose. I would never want Florida State to lose, but I'm like, man, this is next worldly. This is I'm blessed to watch this. This is nuts because Florida State did have athletes, and he ran through them like he was playing a high school team. It was I still have never seen anything like that, and I saw Michael Vick in the championship game. Lamar Jackson was more impressive than that even. It was just incredible. There was a shot of him when he scored the touchdown, like flapping his arms to the side like a bird, which you can do that. You're at home, you're beating us, but just that triggered me for some reason. I'm just like, oh, all right. That's interesting, but I like it. You still hold on to it too. Hey, if they win tonight, maybe for the post-game show, you do a little you flap your arms like a bird. That's gonna be you and Ira, man. I'm not doing that. Gotta keep the rap. Big Steve 022. You could be behind me flapping. Okay, exactly. I'll do that. Big Steve 022. Real quick, he puts at the bottom though. But we'll get right to this. The more important part. His young son, remember, several years ago, was going through all these sort of cardiac procedures. On his heart as a wee man. The heart's doing great. We're dealing with some gastro issues that caused him to go to the ER multiple times in the last year, but fingers crossed, they think they've figured out what's been going wrong and have a remedy for it, so hopefully it continues to work. So far, so good. So, good, man. Man, God, let that kid live. Let that kid live and not go to a hospital for a little bit, man. Come on. He says, good morning, gentlemen. Good to hear from you, Steve-O, by the way. Thanks for joining us here with the new network. It's only $1, everybody, for everybody. All right, talking Louisville, I did a deep dive into stats to see how Malik Cunningham fares on the road versus being at home. Surprisingly, fairly similar. He does a whole stat breakdown, says I don't have to read them out loud, just for reference. Jordan Travis, pretty much the same thing. Even though he hasn't started a whole year, the numbers are tough to gauge, but his home-away splits aren't that much different. So from what I saw this past weekend, I'm fairly confident that we can win this game, and actually most of the games on the schedule. But for this one, what do you think is the single most important matchup for us to come away with? And you said offensively, they just got to be able to Score?
Well,
run?
Yeah, well, I mean, but to make it more specific, your receivers have to go make plays.
Okay.
I think there are going to be plays to be made. There are going to be plays to be made. And if you watch the UCF game, those first couple drives, their receivers and running backs made some really nice plays, including a couple on Brownlee. A fourth down catch, a back shoulder, the end zone, the catch in the end zone over Brownlee. You've got Brownlee covered them. They weren't wide open. You've got to go snatch the ball, and when you get a chance to go make a play in the end zone, look at you, Johnny Wilson, because you were going to have a chance. Go make the plays. Go make the plays because you can't be settling for field goals and win this game, in my opinion. So I think the running backs will play well. I think the running game will be there. I think Jordan's going to make the right reads for the most part. I trust that. Let's see these receivers in an environment like that go suck the life out of a stadium.
Random_John, good morning. May the week find you covering a 3-0 team. I shall keep my introduction like this until the win streak is broken. All right, his question, in the game of football, is it more about X's and O's or Jimmy's and Joe's? I get it, Georgia and Bama are awesome, but there seems to be a disturbance in the force. It's called the Sun Belt. How on earth did Old Dominion, App State, Georgia Southern, Marshall beat the teams that they did? Should we worry about our own Sun Belt foe, the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana? They're 2-0 just like us.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Listen, yeah, I would rather have supreme talent. I would rather have Alabama's roster than Florida State's roster with Nick Saban coaching it, right? Like if they swap coaches, if Alabama and Florida State played on a neutral site, but Saban coached Florida State, Norvell was coaching Alabama, I think Alabama is still the favorite with Mike Norvell as the head coach.
Yeah, and you're not talking about just swapping for a week, like team swap. What a great reality show that would be. Like instead of wife swap,
send Saban, send him to make
Saban go coach Georgia Tech.
Yeah,
and see if if he still likes football. That's a great idea for a reality show, man. They could at least do that at the high school level. But if you're talking about Saban having worked with this team for 6 weeks or 2 months, and he's got a game plan. Yeah, I still think you want Norvell. Same thing with Norvell with those Alabama guys. Yes, you want the talent. Talent overall wins out. Usually. I mean, overall, there are going to be some anomalies, like a couple of the games this weekend. And the parity is to a point where you can't just show up and beat Louisiana. You're actually going to have to play well and take them seriously. They can beat you. You know that going in. The difference between your 3 stars and their 2 stars, talent-wise, isn't a huge gap. The difference between Bryce Young and Louisiana's quarterback is an enormous gap, or Will Anderson, or any of those 5-star guys. That to me is the difference. But your 3 stars aren't overwhelmingly better than most of the teams they're playing against. So that said, I don't even think I answered the question.
Well,
it helps to have both. How about that?
Yeah, I didn't get to watch all the games, but App State just kind of pulled an old-fashioned playbook out, or just not a literal playbook, but just, listen, this is what we're going to do. We are going to possess the ball as long as we possibly can, and we're just going to play like hell on defense and keep them off the field. And A&M kind of fell into the trap. Their quarterback did not have a good game either. I watched a lot of that Georgia Southern-Nebraska game. I mean, golly, that quarterback for Georgia Southern made some plays. I mean, there's a little bit of maybe more I don't know, I shouldn't say that because Casey Thompson played quite well for Nebraska. But, man, Nebraska threw some really weird blitzes and pressures and coverage combinations together, and there was some weird stuff going on there for them defensively. They played quite well on offense. The defense is what kind of failed them. But I think there is a sort of, you make this your Super Bowl, and certain coaches can maybe motivate for that 1 week and just get the best out of their player. Can they do it every single week? You can't keep going to the well on that. I might have mentioned once or twice. I remember like Hugh Freeze, when he was at Ole Miss, said that he's got 3 games a year. You got 3 weeks as a head coach to where you can kind of play the emotional card, where it's us versus them. It's a rivalry. Like you can really kind of use that as a motivating force. It's a very powerful thing, but you cannot use it like more than 3 times in a year. I think what we saw here, listen, man, Marshall caught Notre Dame at a good time. App State also caught A&M kind of at a good time. They're probably looking ahead a little bit to Miami. Old Dominion, Virginia Tech, learn your lesson already, Virginia Tech. That's a bizarre one. That's little brother. No one wants to play those games. Alabama won't even play UAB because they don't want to enter that kind of world. So talent does win out. Coaching is very important. But in those games, I think you see how powerful it can be for an emotional sort of connection for a coach to rally his team for that one game to get it figured out.
I think the answer to that is you can't win a championship with average to slightly above average talent. But you can win any game. Any one game you can. But over the course of a season, average to just above average talent is going to lose 3 or 4 games just because you can't overcome some stuff. The margin of error is too small. Alabama, you like Florida State can't win a championship this year. They might be the best coached team in the country. They can't win a championship this year. They just don't have the requisite talent. So to me, when we're talking about Florida State, it's more important to have the best talent because at Florida State, championships are what you gauge on, not wins from week to week. It's you contending and winning championships. So if that's what, trying to get back to in quotes, the talent has to come. The talent has to be upgraded. It has been already. It just needs to continue to ascend.
Nole for Life, CO 2007. We still don't know if that's class of 2007 or they're from Colorado and they became a fan. Well, no, they've been a Nole for Life, so can't be that one. Anyhow, let's get into Doc Brown's DeLorean, travel 5 years into the future. We find that Norvell is still the head coach of Florida State. What play do you think was the most impactful in him sticking around? 4th and 14 against Miami or the block in New Orleans? I may be prisoner of the moment, but I would say the block. 4th and 14, in my opinion, was a season-defining play, but the block has the potential to be a career-defining play if the improvement in the trajectory continues. What say you?
I would agree with the block. Maybe not with the reasons he says, but more about I don't know that you win the fan base back if you lose that game. It wasn't so much. I mean, so I guess in that regard, it is pivotal. But I think it's more you shudder at the thought of if they had lost that game after blowing the Jacksonville State game, after having that lead in that game, that it would have been really tough to. It would have been right to wonder, okay, is this guy either snake bitten or just loses his mind late in games? Like what is going on here? And it might have been tough to get over that hump after another just devastating, all-time crushing defeat the second week of the season, 2 years in a row. So that's why I would say that I think the block would be, because let's be honest, the 4th and 14 is awesome, great for Parchment, great for Jordan Travis. It's good. It's always good to beat Miami. You still went 5-7. You don't really have season-defining wins when you go 5-7. It was the best win of a bad season. That could be a big moment of a turnaround season. So that's why I would say it would be the block.
Just to be devil's advocate, that salvaged so much, though, last year. If you don't have that win, like if you did not, and then you end up not beating Florida, if all the results hold and you didn't have that Miami win, the offseason would have felt so much worse. I don't know how
it's 4-8 or 5-7, though, right? Like, it still felt bad.
But it was a good win. It's a Miami win. You won it.
I mean, it was better than not doing it. I'm just saying, I think the skepticism was still there this year.
But
because you had gone 5-7.
It could have been overwhelming.
What do you think? I mean, okay, that's that. I know you're playing devil's advocate, and I'll play devil's advocate the other way. If we're talking about a 1-1 team that lost LSU 30-24 in overtime, after controlling the game and having a 99.9% chance to win when you recovered that punt,
I think maybe you're okay. You're right. Whatever. Fine. Moving along. Shout out Corey. By the way, HM 1097, who we bundled together, it was his first time on the Ponies. He's from Jacksonville, went to Mandarin, home of former Nole Super Bowl champ Tony Carter. So
here we go.
I want to give him some love there. Mobile Nole, first-time poster, been listening since Miami 2020. That was a good one to join us on, yeah.
Right, I was going to say, I was trying to remember. Oh, that's right. Wasn't it like 55-3 or something?
52-10, I think.
So whatever, gang. Who cares? It was embarrassing.
I'm from Mobile. I currently attend Aslan's Underdog Pick South Alabama. Famous people from Mobile. Chris Casher, 4-star who attended FSU.
Yep.
And a guy who used to play for the Braves named Henry Aaron.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I like that he went with Casher first.
Yes. Yeah. The NOLA game was my senior trip. However, I got a question. Has the red zone offense been improved in 11-on-11 this week in practice? Because last week it was not great. We left around 17 points on the table. Go Noles, go Jags, go Aslan and Corey. They did some of
Appreciate
that
it.
Tuesday. It was cool, Corey. I wish we could have been there to see it, but they had just weird personnel groupings to where I'm like, is this kind of like a premium scout look they're going for? But they did do a lot of goal line, red zone, inside the 10-yard line stuff, but it was pretty evenly matched. And it wasn't always Jordan. That was the weird thing. Like they even had A.J. Duffy running some plays, which again, I'm like, are they just trying to get a really good look for the defense? But then Jordan came out, and you're like, all right, well, they want to really get this drill for the offense as well. I hate to leave it so vague. I didn't jot and score all the plays, but it was pretty evenly matched. There was one play though where that was Preston Daniel. That was later on in the practice. That was not red zone. That's their calling card though. We'll be fine in the red zone offense. I think Louisville's red zone offense is actually kind of putrid, so we can bask in that. Right now, red zone offense for Florida State, actually not that great. 84th in the nation, converting.
Well, no, I mean they went. I mean they had 2 possessions inside the 10 where they didn't score a point. So yeah, it's going to be bad.
Louisville, meanwhile, 123rd in the nation red zone offense. So, I mean, listen, everything that they're good at, we're better. Everything we're bad at, they're worse.
Yeah.
Like,
There you go. There you go, Aslan. It's a good way to put it.
Don't lose game. Null Dad for life, or 4L. Wake up, gents. I assume this will make it into next week's podcast. So my question is for the season as a whole. We got to it. With everything we've seen from this team through 3 weeks, what would you consider a successful or disappointing season? The fact the floor has been raised so much, I feel that 7 wins would be a disappointment. Agreed.
I agree too. I think 8 wins should be your floor.
Yeah.
That LSU game was a 50-50 win. You won it. There's no excuse for not winning your home games except for maybe Clemson. All the other ones are win. Like, you just look around, man. Look at this schedule. You've got 10 games left. You should be in all 10 games. You will probably be the better team in 7 of them. You're allowed to steal one when you're not the better team. And you can also win all the ones when you're the better team. So, yeah, I would think if they go, what would that be, 5-5 the rest of the way? Yeah, that would feel like a disappointment.
Absolutely, yeah. That's, I mean, you gotta do the math
unless
on that.
crazy injuries happen. Like, there's always that caveat, right?
No,
like
I mean,
sometimes
if Jordan
gets
hurt, if Jordan gets hurt, yes. But man, if guys go down, guys go down. If you lose your quarterback, absolutely, that's a quote unquote excuse. But listen, man, if Louisville's going to be without their best defensive tackle that anchors their defensive line in a 3-4. So if Fabian Lovett can't play and Florida State loses and doesn't look good on the defensive line, I'm not saying they're unlucky because Louisville's going through injuries too. Injuries happen,
Yeah.
man, but if your quarterback goes down, yes, I will cut you slack.
Or if you get like a crazy stomach bug that takes out a third of the team before the Wake game. Something like that.
I mean, be realistic, Corey. Can you be realistic?
I know. Good point. My bad.
Pulling up the stats here to see if this kid's even touched the ball yet. He has not. So we'll ask the question in any event. Bjorn Werner Schnitzel had a blast at the LSU game. I'm from Citrus County, home of Ted Williams. It was great to see everybody at the Howling Wolf. Still disappointed the television in the back room didn't work. Couldn't ask for a better environment in the Superdome. The amount of trash talk I spewed in the moments leading up to Trayshawn Ward's fumble will forever be a reminder to stay humble and know that nothing is promised.
Smart.
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
I thought of that too. Weirdly, so they showed Jordan Travis on the big screen as that sequence was happening, and they had the ball and they ran it once, and then they showed him again, and you could see him yelling at the lineman, "We're winning this effing game!"
Yeah.
And stomping his foot, like excited, like he knew they were about to win the game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then they fumble the next play. And it's like, man, maybe that's a lesson to him too. Like, it's a lesson to all of you guys. Like, and I love the confidence. I love how excited he was. He knew how big a win that was going to be. And they were a yard away from it. They weren't even a yard away from it. They were a good snap, hold, and kick away from it. And then almost disaster happened.
When I was in Pasadena, man, second half I moved over to sit with Mercedes Mike and his dad. There was an Auburn guy 2 rows behind me, and there was so many up and downs. And never at any point did I turn around and, give him the DX chop. I never was like, suck it. But when the game was over, like, we actually dapped up, and I'm like, he was like, great game. I'm like, thanks, man. I'm like, what a fabulous game to be part of. Sorry you lost. But like, at no point in that game did I celebrate. Yeah, we all get humbled.
When would you have? I mean, I know Kermit, but even Kermit scores. There's 4 minutes left.
Yeah. And then that team, the way they had won games that year, Auburn, nothing was safe. Even
it wasn't even
kickoff.
over when you're kicking off.
Yeah. All right, Louisville fan expectations, complete 180 after the UCF win. They're confident. It's going to be interesting to see how each team responds. I like our chances. Do you think Louisville draws up a play specifically for Devon Mortimer? Devon Mortimer was a longtime Florida State commit who flipped to Louisville. He has not caught a ball this year, so I don't think they'll bring him out of the garage for this one. And will FSU try to pick on Jarvis specifically as part of the game plan? I could see that. I mean, they know him. They know what he does, can't do. And they probably know there's certain things they can go after and certain down distances. I mean, they're not going to create like an entire Jarvis attack plan, but I think there are certain things where like, all right, we can do this on this play because if we get the matchup with him, we like this.
So. I think a lot of it is just they would do that against any man-to-man coverage. But there might be a little twinge of, like Aslan said, well, we know what he can cover and what he can't cover. And we're gonna go after him. We're going to make him rue the day that he left Tallahassee.
New segment on the show here, Primo Nole 1, our first part of it. Congrats, Primo Nole. Wake up. Good morning, gentlemen. Ira mentioned on a podcast that if they participate in team drills, they will play. He said that you can ask who participates in a team portion of practice. So with that being said, here's the list. Fabian Lovett, Winston Wright, Duke Cooper. This segment is called I'm Not Answering Your Question. So
Well done. Well done, Aslan. I was like, where are we going with this, buddy? Yeah. No, what Ira was saying is, because people keep asking about Winston Wright, or anybody for that matter, and understand in general, a general thought, if somebody you guys are wondering is available, if they show up in a practice report as having, and Winston Wright caught a 14-yard slant against Kevin Noles, that's a good sign. If you don't see anything about if you're looking for a specific name and you don't see him in a team report of a practice observation, you can draw your conclusions. That's all. That's all Ira was saying. It's like, don't get excited until you start seeing names pop up consistently in team drills.
Yeah, we're not taking roll, man. I'm gonna try to be a little bit jerk there, but we can't, because listen, we can't, man. There's repercussions. There are consequences if we do talk about things we're not allowed to talk about. Sorry, that's all we can say. But check out the live game thread with Corey. He'll let you know who's dressed and who's not. And at that point, we can let you know. But up until then, we cannot. Let's pick up the pace a little bit here, Corey, if we could. Probably falls on my shoulders as well. Probably should have thrown this into the Jordan Travis segment of the show. But Dixie Knoll asks, how many yards does Jordan have to throw for to win? How many total yards rushing do we need, everybody, backs and Travis, to win? He thinks 34-17 is the final. You should have told us what you think the yardage would be if that's your final score right there.
Yeah, I want to get the gauge.
What would you say? You nailed it on the nose against LSU, so I'm getting out of your way. You take this one, Corey.
Is it total yardage? I mean, 300. Get to 300 somehow, because again, I think your running backs can get you another running backs and maybe receiver doing the stuff they did with Span maybe in the game against LSU into rounds and stuff. If the other guys could run for 150 and your quarterback totals 300 yards running and throwing, all right, you got something. I think 450 yards should equate to somewhere in the mid-30s.
Island Chief, wake up. Great to hear from all the new subscribers. Glad they get to experience the comprehensive coverage provided by Warchant and especially this podcast.
Oh, thanks, Island Chief. That was nice.
My question, would it be prudent for Warchant to write or produce a video showing the awful nature of the play that led to Dennis Briggs' injury last year? Hopefully leading to clean play, or is that something that just needs to be settled on the field? Well, the coaches, hopefully, they send that tape in, I would think, right? Or maybe the coaches should, the Florida State football account should tweet it and then tag Louisville and Scott Satterfield in it.
Yeah, and be like, what's this about?
Yeah, do better.
Yeah, what's this about? What are we doing here? Yeah. What are we teaching here? Yeah. It was what Briggs was engaged, right? And somebody just dove at his knee.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was dirty. It didn't even make any sense really in the context of the play. It wasn't like Briggs had been harassing them all game long and they had to figure out a way to slow him down, and it was just the guy was trying to chip him and tripped. It looked like it was intentional to hurt a kid who was engaged for I don't know what the reason was. So, I don't know that it's our duty necessarily to let – I mean, I think we've talked about it and we haven't written about it, but people on the boards have certainly brought it up, and we brought it up in the podcast that we do. And Briggs remembers it, and the rest of that team, I have to imagine, remembers it. I don't remember who did it, though, and if that kid's still on the team.
Yeah, I don't know.
But if he is,
watch out.
Yeah, hell's coming. Dennis is coming, and hell's coming with him.
We coming. Jengalang, what part of FSU's game are you really interested to see perform in the game tonight? I will audible somewhat. I'll pick individual players. I think defensively, every week it will be the same answer. Jared Verse. Okay. I want to see. I'm excited to see Johnny Wilson. I think Johnny Wilson was a little bit hampered against LSU. I think the time off served him quite well. Excited to see him under the lights against physical matchup potentially out there. Corey.
Okay. Speaking of Verse, though, I don't know. Those are good answers. They really are. I'd like to see Jamie Robinson have a big game, too.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him get back to his form. I think Akeem Dent's played well, and we know Jamie Robinson's a good player. So, and speaking of Briggs, how does he respond? He hasn't really done a whole lot so far, but he's got some potential. So let's see if he breaks out a little bit. But speaking of Verse, I watched Scott Satterfield's press conference talking about Florida State, and it was funny because he doesn't know any of their names, so he just calls them by the numbers. Uh-huh. He's like, they got 2 linebackers, 15 and 7 that can really run, and then he got corrected. He's like, oh, no, 4. Yeah, 4 can really run, and then 5, what's his name here? What's his name? And he starts looking down. Verse. Yeah, Verse is a real good player, man. He's a real good player. And then like 10 minutes later, he's like, yeah, and they got him out of Albany. And he's doing this he reminds me of number 11 they had last year. It's like, you don't know Jermaine Johnson's name? Like, he was a first-round pick, and he's like, that guy was the ACC Defensive Player of the Year. It's like, okay, so you know their accomplishments, and you know he was from Georgia because he said, yeah, that number 11 they got from Georgia. But he won't say their names. Like, it was a weird thing that he just either doesn't know, like literally doesn't know, or doesn't want to give them the benefit of, like, I don't know, knowing their names. But he kept calling Verse number 5. But then he did know he was from Albany. Yeah. He's like, yeah, and think they got him from Albany. It's like, oh, so you know his story. You know he's from Albany, but you just didn't know his name. All right. So let's see if Jared Verse helps him remember his name tonight.
I don't think there's anything insidious there. I did like how he was asked like twice about App State being A&M, and he did say they. And, like, he talked about that. And he's an alum there, and he was also their coach before. Yeah. But so many coaches refuse to say their former school. It's my former institution. That makes me cringe. It's like, just say it, man. Brian Kelly, just say it. When I was at Notre Dame, like, not my last stop. Like, Norvell's done it, too.
And I think Satterfield could even say we.
Yeah, he said that.
He's got to be a fan of App State. He played there. Yeah. He won a lot of games for them.
Quay 6, I wish I had a friend the way Corey has Aslan. Cherish these road victories, fellas. Go Noles. Hey, Stephanie. Whoa, easy, Quay.
Hey, calm down, man. Yeah. Calm down. She's spoken for.
Our guy, Sabaxley, now Nolebacks 55. Wake up, guys. Sorry I didn't get to come through at Howlin' Wolf. Showed up, soaking wet from the rain. No room to get in there.
Yeah.
Maybe corner pocket next time, he says. So, yeah, for sure. Sure. All right. I'm so hopeful for this year. Things look different. Like they could be this year. We exceed expectations. But I've also seen this team over the last 4 years take 1 step forward, then 2 steps back. Why should I not be hesitant?
Hey, man, I think you should.
I don't think you should. This is a different team, dude. They've lived it. They've experienced it. This quarterback has genuine confidence, real belief in himself. The staff believes in him. I don't think that was the case last year. He's performed pretty well. I think I said great the other day. I didn't mean great. I'm like, yeah, he's doing great. Not like he's an all-time great.
Right.
You have you replace your pass rusher with somebody that seems to be close enough for now with Jared Verse. Yeah. You got better linebacker play. Love Coop and what Fabian are doing. Back end, I like the safeties a lot. I mean, listen, you learn from your experiences, man. They've gone through. You guys don't want to count 2020 as a real year. It was a real year. They played games. They lost. They experienced that sort of stuff. This is year 3, man. It's you grow. If you believe in this coaching staff, if you think you have good coaches, which have a really good offensive coordinator, the head coach is pretty darn good, scheming up stuff and calling plays. Defense, I like Adam Fuller. I get you guys are hesitant on that thing. Good OC. They've got good pieces here, man. There's things happen. They're going to lose football games because they're not 2013 FSU. They're not 2019
Well, I think that's
Alabama.
where the hesitancy comes from, right? You just know they're going to lose some football games.
Yeah.
So don't jump all in thinking they're a playoff team. They're not. So, yeah, I can understand the hesitancy about tonight. I don't know that if they lose, you'd call it 2 steps back. I think, like I said, I think it's more just a step sideways. But until they do it, I get why you'd be hesitant about it. That's why I think it's such a big game. I think it would just unshackle the people that listen to this show about what this team could be and how much better it's gotten. Because I know that the LSU win was exciting, but you've got to stack another win on top of that. And if you do that, people are going to be legitimately fired up, and this team might legitimately be a good team. That's all. I'm not hesitating that they're better. They are better. They're a better program. But he said exceed expectations. Well, when the expectations are 7 or 8 wins, then you're talking about 9 or 10 wins. And I would slow my roll on that until we see what Friday looks like.
I'm not. They got it. They got the pieces.
Okay, you got it, man. I'm with you. Let's do it.
Koopa Troop, first time posting. Been listening to Wake Up since spring 2021. I'm a 2006 alum from Stuart, Florida. Was the LSU game a sod game? Yes, it was. It was.
I haven't been there, Aslan. Do they have the marker up yet?
I don't know on that, but I do know for sure that it was a sod game. Seminole Sam, who posts on the boards. I don't want to blow his cover, but he handles the sod cemetery. He's confirmed.
Okay, all right.
Nole Tickety 11, Wake Up, over-unders. FSU rush yards. By the way, over-under is up on the website. It's for our subscribers only. You can win $50 to Garnet and Gold. Over-under 190 rushing yards. Over-under drop pat. Well, we'll go through these quickly. Over-under 190 rush yards, Corey.
Over.
Over-under drop passes 2.5.
Under.
Over-under illegal chop blocks by Louisville 30.
Under, barely.
Noles Forever, longtime listener, sign up for the great $1 deal. I listen to you guys with my son and daughter on the way to school. They asked to listen to you guys instead of Disney Junior.
Oh, how about that? I met a family at the Howlin' Wolf that they must have gotten there early. They actually had a table, and there weren't many. And it was I think it was 2 daughters. And he was like, this is who you listen to. And they were very sweet and kind. And actually, sometimes a parent will do that to the kid, and the kid will be like, yeah, can I get back to my phone?
Right.
Or, all right. But they had big smiles and seemed genuinely excited to see me. So that was fun.
Also, I wanted to say thanks to Corey for taking a picture with me outside the Howlin' Wolf.
Oh, I wonder if that's them.
Maybe, Corey. Maybe.
All right.
A lot of hype around
You're
Azaria.
welcome. You're welcome.
A lot of hype around Azaria Thomas. How has he played so far this year based on what you've seen? He's hit a little bit of a wall here the last 10 days, it feels like. Still got supreme confidence. He's going to be a great player for this football team. But, there's maybe a little bit of freshman, I don't want to say freshman wall, but, now the season is in place. The grown men are playing grown men. So, might take some time for him to develop and get into the flow of things here. But again, man, Duke Cooper, who's not nearly as physically gifted and talented as Azaria is, by midway through the season, didn't even go through fall camp, ends up being a big-time contributor, not writing off Azaria by any stretch right now. But just the last 2 weeks or so of practice, he's kind of, he's not flashing as much as he used to, but I'm not worried at all. It's just, part of the nature of the beast.
Yeah, I thought the practices I saw after LSU, I thought he looked better than he had recently. But then I didn't see him at all this past week because I've been in Atlanta, so I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if he gets on the field at all. I was a little bit surprised he didn't play at all against LSU, or for that matter, didn't play very early at all against Duquesne, because I thought he'd be. I think they brought Greedy Vance in. Instead of him. And I didn't foresee that happening, but, that just tells you that he's still got plenty of room to grow. And look, you can make splash plays as a true freshman. That doesn't mean necessarily you're going to be awesome right away, as Aslan said. It takes some time to grow and learn and get used to not just the speed of practice, but get used to the speed of these games. And we'll see when that is for him.
All right, this will be the last one. Love you guys. Right. Shout out to Law Nole 904, Viking _ Dixie _ 21, Shady Nole 25, who confirms he is not LaShawn McCoy.
Oh man, that's a bummer. I'm sure you're a nice guy. Still, probably accomplished a lot. It just would have been cool to have a sort of Hall of Fame-ish type running back, right?
Yeah.
LaShawn McCoy was good in the NFL.
Yeah. Busby for Heisman as well. Corey, go read the question. It was funny. Something about Beethoven and you and not being able to watch games and kryptonite. I don't know. It all makes sense.
Okay. Is that a long one? Is that why you're not? You're
no, but it just if I get to that one, then I got to get to another one, then to another one, then we'll be an hour and a half. Hour 20, I think is really that red lines us. I think it red lines us.
I agree.
We'll read this because it's red meat and the people like it. 901. Oh, he spelled OOH. 901, which Memphis, I think. Yeah, coming in from Memphis, birthplace of Aretha Franklin, Justin Timberlake, Arthur Smith, coach of Corey's Falcons, and South Gwinnett's Lou Williams.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep. My first interview. I've told that story. I was his first interview. I was the first reporter that ever interviewed him.
Love the show. Thank you for being genuine fans and great reporters. All right, two-parter here. I meant to forward this to you, Corey, because I can't read. I can't make out the second one, but we'll try. Here, first one. Enter the multiverse with me. If Jimbo Fisher never leaves FSU and you could take his A&M years and give them to us, how close are we to firing him after losing to App State at home? I think all things considered and looking ahead, it would be time to move on.
No. I think the recruiting class, and we're assuming that he brings in that kind of recruiting class. No, I think he's in good standing.
As long as he's still beating Florida, and he's still probably beating Florida and Miami.
Yeah. Now, people are frustrated because you don't go – and look, the story that's – the narrative out there quite clearly right now is, you're one guy with Jameis, and you're this whole different guy when you don't have this incredible quarterback, which is fair and true. He's won like 71% of his games without Jameis, and he won, 96% of his games with Jameis. So that is true, and I think that narrative would be very loud at Florida State if he was consistently had gone from those 2 years, 29 in a row, to winning 8 games every year. But I don't know that he would be fired. I think it would be more of like he would get tired of all the questions. He would not be beloved. People would be upset and frustrated, and he might be looking to get out the door. That's how I would envision that scenario going if he was still here winning 8 games a year.
I love that. We'd have fired him after App State, but then an hour ago, we're talking about how much we like this coach who, 379 days ago, lost to a FCS team.
Right,
College
yeah.
football
I think
fandom
Jimbo's
is a beautiful
benefit
thing.
of the doubt. Jimbo would have built enough benefit of the doubt that, and again, that recruiting class matters, man. They just brought in an all-time class.
And who knows, man? If Max Johnson somehow takes the reins over, and because apparently this Haynes King guy's not it. I know he won the job,
clearly,
but he's not it. So if Max Johnson starts winning games, who knows? Imagine that if they somehow if they just rip off SEC play and they win out, but have this loss against App State. That'd be crazy. But they're gonna keep losing, probably. So, all right, second question here. This is a problem. I don't know. Maybe it makes sense. I'll read it slowly, verbatim. Corey's smarter than I. Hopefully it'll make sense to you.
Okay, here we go.
Here in Memphis, there are a lot of Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Tennessee, and Arkansas fans. Would you trade rosters and coaches with any of these teams and keep them in the ACC with FSU schedule? Does that make nothing?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Would you trade rosters and coaches with any of those aforementioned teams and keep them in the ACC with FSU schedule? I just don't.
Is he saying Arkansas would go 10-2 in the ACC? I don't quite understand it.
I'd rather be climbing with the FSU brand behind me than anything those programs have. So maybe that's. Sure, absolutely. Yeah, look, man, the potential and ceiling of Florida State, even now, is higher than every school but 12, 11. There are some schools that can make the playoffs. It's great. BYU in 2 years can make the playoffs. They're not winning a championship. Nebraska, I don't think, unless they hire an incredible coach or get amazing NIL deals for these kids, is never going to compete for a championship. Florida State still has the ability to do that. That's still the ceiling at Florida State. Now, you're not close to the ceiling right now. You got to go get a much bigger ladder, but that is still a possibility. And at Arkansas, man, what have the last 60 years taught us? They don't win championships.
Tennessee, they had a nice run. Maybe Tennessee, they do care, and they'll pay some players to come there. But Ole Miss, no. I mean, look at history. Those schools, their ceiling is 2 miles below Florida State's ceiling and has been for 40 years. So I hope I answered that question.
Better than
I probably didn't, but I did the best I could with it.
Better than I would have done. Thank you, everybody, for being involved in the show. If we didn't get your question, I think we said everybody's name at least. I don't know, maybe let me know next week that we didn't get to your question. We'll try to prioritize it. And I'll probably do a better job of clustering all these questions together, and we probably will get everybody on the show if I would have actually done that earlier on in the day. Now I know it actually works, and it's worth doing it. So look at that, everybody. Have a blast watching the game. Don't forget, Warchant Game Day presented by Zaxby's. Pre-game show 6:30. Watch along. First half, Jeff Ira. Second half, Gene and Tom. Post-game show, Gene and Tom. Corey and I in Louisville. All the post-game reaction. Warchant wrap. That'll be up for you folks. It's all $1 over at warchant.com. I mean, it's $1 for an entire year.
It's incredible.
Time is winding down. Figure it out. Get involved. But before all that, Jeff Cameron Show 1 to 3 o'clock. For Corey Maslon, thank you so much for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.